We get a lot of questions through emails actually and DMs asking us how the trail knee moves in the swing. Let's kind of tackle this question first with what happens in the downswing. This is going to help you understand what needs to happen in the backswing, which is typically where we see trail knee movement start to go off the rails in the backswing. Downswing wise, what do we want to have happen with that trail knee?
Yeah, so as you're starting to make your downswing, this trail leg is going to be bending, flexing.
Yep.
And kind of this whole upper leg is going to be rotating.
Yep.
To the point where about halfway down here, before your hands get to your waist, if you're looking at a down the line camera, they'll be pretty much lined up, square again.
Right. That's what we say, you know, let's say you're square at address, which nobody really is, but close enough.
Yeah.
You got to re-square them very early in the downswing.
Yeah, and then as they continue along, this leg, the trail knee, will move outward almost to a point where it almost is getting in line with your toes here. So there's that kind of around motion with that leg, which, oh, by the way, when that moves like that, it brings the trail hip around, and a lot of good things happen from that.
So my simple brain hears you saying the trail knee bends in the downswing as the lead knee straightens.
We call it the switch, right?
Yep.
The knee switch. So lead leg more bent than the trail.
And the backswing.
Yeah, the trail leg is
At the
not
top, yep.
locked. And then they switch. So as this one starts to straighten, then my trail leg starts to bend and move around in a line that's kind of a 45 out to the target line.
Right.
As it does that, at impact, it'll take on, you know, approximately 3 to 1.
Typically see 2 to 1 to 3 to 1, depending on the player.
The kiss of death would be locking the trail leg back,
Right.
bracing it off this way, or kicking it outside the toe line. So again, we're playing golf in these windows,
Okay.
and that's a big one.
So if we know that trail knee needs to bend in the downswing, if we want to consider the backswing what we need to do now, it's going to bend in the backswing. It makes no sense to straighten this trail leg in the backswing because the things that we see amateur golfers do, handicap golfers do all the time that ruins their downswing is they'll overturn the hip.
And they lock the trail knee back.
Well, it helps
so
to
far.
overturn the hip and or shove the pelvis forward in the backswing. Both of those are killers for good downswings.
Yeah, because you only have 0.2 seconds in the
Right.
downswing to get all these things in place for a good impact. So if your swing thought is to straighten the trail leg, a lot of times when people are taught that, they'll lock it back in this kneecap, and we can measure it on 3D.
Right.
How far the outside dot of my kneecap travels is a huge indicator of where it's going to end up when we're in that kind of halfway down hitter's position, the delivery position. Because if it's too far back, there's no time to get it out of there. You end up overly square at impact with the lower body, and you can't get the knee action that you see these great players have. You just can't do it.
So the average that you'll see on tour with regards to trail knee bend in the backswing is to gain 6 degrees from address to the top of the swing.
Okay?
Okay, so good players are bending their trail knee. They're not straightening it. The problem is, so this is where looking at video and taking still images of players at the top saying, well, he straightened his leg, it leads so many people down the wrong road. That's why you want to rely on 3D, and anyone who uses 3D should be able to tell you this trail knee bends. Now, if they're telling you it straightens, then you got to ask yourself, okay, why are they saying the opposite of what the data shows? Now, that doesn't mean at address, I just start bending my knee. There's movement to this. There's a pattern of movement, the same thing with wrist angles.
There's a wave.
You can't just go wrist angle at address, wrist angle at the top, and go there, right? There's a wave to this motion. So
Which makes it athletic, by the way.
Let's walk you through that. So let's have you set up to that ball. So one of the first things all good players do is have a slight shift away from the target in the backswing.
Yeah, so as, you know, a lot of them will even have a little trigger left.
Yep.
So they have a little bit of, we call it stepping on the right foot, and then they start.
Okay, so when you do that, when you shift to away from the target to start the swing, like you see all these great players do, you're going to increase the knee flex right off the bat.
You're kind of bracing that off a little bit so you don't go this way too far.
Right, it would be weird to shift off and straighten this knee.
Yes.
Right, because you start to get this reverse pivoting. Okay, as you recover from that initial shift off, the knee will kind of start to lose a little bit of flex back to close to where it started. Okay, so it starts one flex, adds flex, starts to lose a little flex, and then as you start to get to the top and that downswing sequence starts to unwind, you're going to be putting in, or should be putting in, knee flex again by the time you reach the top in preparation for that 1/4 of a second downswing.
It's that kind of wave. So wherever you are to dress, little shift off the ball. You can see it like a McElroy.
Right.
Little shift off the ball. Might gain a little there to brace. Losing a little here. As this club gets above the shoulder, start gaining a little bit in preparation for the unwinding. And you're actually lightening your body a little bit right there. That's a whole nother discussion for these force plates.
Right.
But that's the action of the knee, and we got it in gears. So we're not really making this stuff. It's one thing to say you're not right. It's another thing to say we're making it up. Well, we're not making it up.
Or we're interpreting it wrong, which is
anybody that
funny.
has gears can look at that.
Yes. So the cool part is you don't have to think about starting with a flex, bending it a little bit, straightening a little bit. No one we've ever taught has to think about that. The hurdle to get over is if you're a straighten the trail knee guy. That's what you have to get out of. If I just shift over, my body's going to athletically respond to that. And I get a little recenter, it's going to add a little more flex. The issue you want to get out of your mind is straightening this knee to turn my hips. I can turn my hips a ton if I straighten this knee. That's going to throw my pelvis forward, give me either a reverse pivot or one of these kind of old school pivots like how I was taught. Now I've got issues coming way too far inside in the downswing or coming over the top if I do the reverse pivot.
The issue with it is you see the players that do that, they're straightening the trail leg when the good players are bending the trail leg.
That's right.
And when I start to see, there's one thing, and you could say, well, there's a whole lot of different ways to play golf. And there is.
Well, you can go to the driving range and see a whole lot of different ways.
But there's certain things that the good players do that they really all get lumped together. And you don't see many players straightening the trail knee to start the downswing. You just don't see it.
It's like you think of golf, the golf swing mechanics as a pyramid, right? The base of the pyramid is the widest. That's where all golfers fall. So you've got terrible golf swings, great golf swings. You've got 1,000 different ways to swing a club. As you start going up into skill, you start shedding all of these things that don't really quite work. When you get to the very top, you start to see so many people doing the same things, regardless of what it looks like. That's why we don't rely on looks, we rely on measured data.
Yeah, you might see some stylistic stuff with the club, but you're looking at like we call them big dials of the body. They get lumped together pretty tight.
And if you interpret 26 degrees of knee bend as being more than 20 degrees of knee bend, you're interpreting 3D data correctly. It's pretty simple. We learned how to do that in the 2nd grade, I think.
This is one of those things too. When I first got gears, you just kind of put it on yourself.
Right.
And when I first got it, I probably used it for a month too before I even put it on a student, because I just feel like you need to figure out how to do this and figure out what the numbers mean compared to what you're doing. And this was one of the ones that stood out to me. I'm like, why is my knee going the opposite way of all the good players?
You have the opposite graph, inverted graph.
That was one of the things that jumped out at me. Is like, okay, you probably don't want to do something that's completely opposite than what good players are doing. And this is the one that helped me a lot, actually. It stopped me from overturning, because if I straightened late, it was a big back end overturn.
Yeah, you were imbalanced. You had way more backswing rotation than open at impact. And that's a way to do that. Golfers are under the false impression, if I can just turn more, I can swing faster. Well, you're going to have a problem because you're going to get back around square at impact, and that's not good.
Yeah, so it allows me not to overturn, allows me to start my hip sequence a little sooner, which gets the sequence and the stretch happening correctly. I can get more open with my body, and a lot of good things happen just from that. So don't discount this one. It can be a real game changer.
And a great way to work on this is to train the downswing. Because if you know the knee's going to bend in the downswing and the right knee, your trail knee has to get involved in the downswing, you're not going to be wanting to lock it in the backswing.
Yeah, 100%. And if you do lock it, there's just not enough time to get it into this position here where you've got the trail knee kicked in a little farther than where the lead knee starts going back. That's what gets you the proper tilts and turns to the lower body. And that domino kind of cascades up through so you can deliver the club correctly.
So I'm going to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And we're going to have Shaun go to lead arm parallel on his backswing.
Okay.
Just a little shift off the ball, lead arm parallel. Okay. You're going to give it a small little pump, and you're going to focus on that trail knee gaining some flex as you transition into the downswing and just chip one out there.
Yeah, so I've got, just feel kind of bouncy on this leg, not locked, not super bent, right? So I'm going to finish that right there.
Now, you get used to transitioning like this. Your swing to transition is going to start to accommodate the transition.
It's a great drill, more of a sequencing drill.
That's
and
exactly
I think,
right.
You know, once you've got the positions of the swing kind of sorted, it's like if you learn to play a piano, you know, you learn the right hand, the left hand. At some point, you got to put the dynamics in there of the rhythm and the timing of the song and how hard you hit the keys. And this part of it is you learn the positions. Now you got to sequence the thing correctly, which tends to allow the club to be more square at impact and longer and straighter.
So film yourself. Use the Swing Coach app. Use your camera on your phone. Make sure you see some flex being put in that later part of the backswing so you can really start to add it in the downswing.